Spotify jumps onto the live audio trend as it buys Betty Labs, and research has shown that Apple has maintained its dominance in the global smartwatch market. All that and more on this week's edition of Velocity. I'm your host, Bright Khumalo, and joining me for the conversation is Jaco Eagar from Rand Swiss and Thamsanqa Neta from Shiloh Capital. Gents, welcome to the show. Let's talk first about Spotify basically announcing that it's acquiring Betty Labs, famous for the Locker Room app. For those who don't know what the Locker Room app, we're going to find out just now what it is. And unfortunately, we don't have any more information on, the quantums involved in this deal, because maybe it wasn't significant enough for Spotify considering how big it is now. So the first question for you, Jaco, who is, this, group of, or this crowd called Betty Labs and the Locker Room app? Can you tell us more about that? And obviously we're going to ask, more meat into this deal.
Okay, so it's all about this live audio. It's this new trend where you can interact with whoever that may be, celebrities. One of the game changers is going to be anybody can be, hosting these new live audio events through the Spotify. What Spotify is going to offer now. Yep. It's all about live audio. So you interact. And for example, Locker Room is all sports related.
Yes.
An American kind of focus. Discord is the other kind of well-known company. It's more on the gaming side where it started getting traction. They're going to try and incorporate as much as possible. So we're going to get the sports. We have the music. They're going to move in some cultural programming. It's kind of wide in terms of its application, and I think it's the future of audio.
Yeah, and Thamsanqa, tell us about the founders and what was going through their minds when they started this company, and obviously, and how did it grow to what it is today?
Oh, the founders, Howard Akumia, and they wanted to give users an audio experience with sport, streaming audio experience. I think, as Jaco rightly said, I think Spotify has spotted another gap. Initially it was podcasts. Now they've seen audio sports streaming also is a big gap.
Yeah.
When they're trying to provide diversification to their earnings. So I think buying this is a great play. And as Jaco has mentioned, there's Discord, but the valuation of Discord is unknown or would have been rather high for Spotify. Spotify is not known for not speaking about what it pays people. For example, Joe Rogan, signing him up, they did disclose how much they paid him for the 3 years. So I think they like keeping things quiet, valuations low, and managing everything in that way.
So, Jaco, can you walk us through the deal? We know that this is a trend that's picking up, and obviously I think management's thought process is that they could use the IP to spread it out, obviously, throughout their platform. Because I want to read this because the ops manager said that Spotify sees live audio as an ideal for creators to connect them, with their audiences. So, but it's not just for celebs only. They want to open it up to people like you and I as well to, join chat rooms where we can, exactly how we do it on Discord, but, be it available on Spotify platforms as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was wondering how far this will reach, because we can get into even the business sphere. If you can host these meetings, call it meetings. It's the wrong word.
Conferences.
But if you can host it virtually,
yeah.
Then it has wider application. But around the deal itself, whisper numbers. I know we don't, as you rightly mentioned, we don't have the actuals. But whisper numbers says it's around 50 million, and they reckon that, like most kind of VC venture capital type of deals, they say if certain targets are going to be met, it can be closer to 80 million.
Oh, wow.
But it is unlisted. As you know, it's hard to value.
Yep.
The other thing is Silicon Valley, as you said, is hot. Spotify themselves aren't scared to pay, as Thamsanqa mentioned. So 50 million on a roughly $50 billion company, it's 0.1% of their worth that they just spent. So it's a small deal. It is a bet on where the future is going, and I think it's a cheap bet. However, they had to value it, they probably overpaid.
Yeah, well, but still, I mean, why not just be, one of the quotas of Discord? Because I mean, $10 billion valuation. I mean, it's not far off for them. They can close the deal at that valuation, surely. Why not just go for the real thing? You get 350 million users from off the top, and obviously you can just integrate with the current businesses. Why, take a small bet on a locker room, which is basically a sports company, basically, Tamsang?
Control. It's all about control and magic integration. So if you've got a small company, small team, you're buying the technology and the ability to control its integration. So what Spotify is looking to do is to provide services to its current customers. So you will now want to stay more and more in Spotify. When they just offer music and podcasts, there are many other competing elements. But once you enter into another element of sports streaming, they're now offering an additional service to their customers, which they can control, they can integrate, they can develop themselves. At a bigger valuation like Discord, in essence, integration will become harder, and in essence, they are to some degree a competitive force.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Ek, who's the CEO and founder of, or co-founder of Spotify, wasn't lying when he says they wanted to dominate everything that has to do with audio, and obviously was making this big bet on a podcast, and now they're going to live. So it wasn't lying. So, but would you back, Spotify as the king of audio going forward? I mean, at some point during, the deep lockdown when the price was very depressed, it was 80% of my portfolio because it was the only thing I was adding. But how do you guys feel about this one?
Well done. I've looked at Reuters analyst estimates. 50% is about roughly 50% as a whole at these levels, 38% buy. So it's still on the positive side in terms of holding it in a portfolio. Target is not much higher than current levels. It's the consensus target is about $315. As you said, the stock has doubled over a year. Pre-COVID levels, still 86% up. So it has had a strong run, but not a bad play for a long-term portfolio. I think it still has legs over a medium to long term.
Okay, so let's jump into another company, which is now, Apple. We saw, that research from Counterpoint basically estimating that Apple has basically sold around 33.9 million, Apple Watches, which is quite amazing for any watch company. It has broken all records by, when it comes to your imagination, basically. The first question I have, the Apple Watch came out in 2015. What's been their, secret sauce in basically making watches cool again? Because watches, the last time I checked, watches are out of fashion. We only use them for running, but now, they're cool again. So what has been their secret sauce there, Tamsanga? What would you say was their secret sauce?
They've extended the user experience from the phone to the watch, and I think that's a large element of it. So you get even further the usability of the watch in monitoring your performance, your healthcare, and I think that, or your health. I think that was the biggest one, and this is seen by the partnership Apple did with the government of Singapore with Lumia Health.
Yes,
provide an app and watches for their citizens to monitor them. So these sort of uses for the watch is what differentiates it from just being a timepiece, and allows one to have the same sort of user experience with the watch as they would have their phone or their iPad.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of improvements to the Apple Watch from 2015 to now. One of them is battery life, and now obviously they've announced that they're going to be introducing a very resilient, hard, with a hard shell type watch. That's going to compete basically with Santo and Garmin for, endurance athletes, triathletes, etc. So what do you make of this news? Will this bring, that tide up again? Because, I mean, we've seen the share price of Garmin doing okay-ish, but it hasn't been amazing. So will this help that tide? And obviously, what does it mean for Apple, the new Apple Watch?
I think maybe to just add to what Tamsanka said, because I think it's relevant here as well. I'm going to sum it up as this cult-like following that Apple has.
Yeah.
And therefore the watch is kind of the next generation. As he said, I think very well defined. It extends the user experience of the Apple phone. So that being said, your penetration is always going to be with Apple phone users. Whereas a Garmin and a Sunto, as you rightly said, endurance triathletes, etc., it almost has its own cult-like following.
Yes.
So to pull a serious Garmin or Sunto user back to an Apple Watch, I think is going to be a hard sell.
Wow.
The recreational fitness guy like me that stumbles across a fitness watch every now and again, I'm probably going to, just use the Apple Watch because
it's already in the ecosystem. Yeah. That's actually quite fun.
I guess it's going to be a tough one.
For me, they will have to solve the battery life problem first. I mean, you're looking at these watches that last over 240 hours with, hard activity on the watches. And, Apple barely you can barely run a Comrades marathon, let alone a normal 42K. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a hard sell. So quickly, what do we think of Apple as a long-term buy? I mean, if they could turn this industry around, the watch industry, what other industries out there they could possibly turn? So I just want to hear from you guys. I'll start with you, Jaco, in terms of a long-term investment.
Look, Apple is always a buy, and it's always, you can't, not back the horse, or it's just too good at the moment. I think it's going to continue the run. I would pick the level slightly.
Okay.
The target price, average target price, is about 20% higher. All the analysts like it. It's a big buy, but still, we all know what's happened in big tech US, Apple included. We've run extremely hard for the last year. So where you enter, we can probably chat around, but the fact that it's a long-term buy, I would have it in my portfolio for another 5 years. I would say that's a given.
Okay, thank you, gents. That's where we wrap it up. Thanks to my guest, Tamsanka Neta from Shiloh Capital and Jaco Eagar from Rand Swiss. That's why I leave things with you this week. We'll see you again next week. Thank you very much.